This is the FMCG Podcast. This is the show where we speak with the leaders of today and hear their advice on how you can develop your leadership potential. Today, we're joined by Rich Howell of Marvel FMCG, and we're talking all things recruitment. Stay tuned to find out how you can get the most out of your recruiter and what we think will deliver the best experience possible for FMCG recruitment and everyone involved. This podcast has been made in association with FMCGjobs.com, the live job board for fast-moving careers. Head over to FMCGjobs.com to see how they can add value to your career. Let's get to it. Hi, good morning. My name's Rich and this is the FMCG Podcast. We've got a bit of a recruitment special for you today. I've got another Rich on the show, Rich Howell at Marvel Recruitment, and really exciting news because this is a new venture for Rich. And Rich is a guy that we've known for a while. His brand and what he does have got really good synergy with what we do and what we think is best practice in the industry. And we just wanted to have a bit of a frank and honest chat today about the good, the bad, the ugly, what makes recruitment great, what we can do better as an industry, and how we can best serve all you guys in FMCG. So over to you, Rich. Just give us a bit of a snapshot into you and your business.
Yeah, and obviously, thanks for having me. I think it's a good sign of the times that two FMCG recruiters can chew the fat, so to speak, and have a good yarn about stuff. So that's all good. Who am I? Well, it depends what day it is, really. I think, but I think ultimately, I'm an FMCG recruiter. I've been in it for nearly 5 years now. From Gloucestershire, recently started my new venture, Marvel FMCG. The view of our business is simply to come in and try and disrupt, an industry that has been around for a long time. I came into recruitment quite late in my life. I know it doesn't look like that, but I have. So there's a few different things that I've taken an approach to recruitment. I've really tried to bring that into Marvel FMCG. So one of the most important things for me was within recruitment, it is the same for a lot of people. We all do the same thing, but it's more about how we do it and how we come across and how people buy into you, and also what value add there is. So for us, our USP is all about giving back. It's as simple as that. So what I wanted to try and do was when I thought about the business was, yes, stick to what we're good at, and that's FMCG recruitment, but then try and create a business that can really make a difference and almost be a force of good within the industry. So what we did was we managed to somehow, I just don't know how, but we managed to get a corporate partnership with Alzheimer's Society. That's a really sort of personal charity to me. I lost my father to Alzheimer's 4 years ago, and I really wanted to try and make a difference. That was the most important thing to me. I think I said to you before, when I first came into recruitment, I was massively motivated by money, which a lot of people are, and still are, of course. But I think motivations change throughout your time and your career. Yeah. And I think you see a lot of businesses, particularly in our what we do, trying to be a force of good and trying to make a difference. Whether that's with the environment, whether that's through social responsibility. So we really wanted to try and create a business that can do that. And our motivation is simply giving back. So what we've got a sort of an agreement in place where we will, for every candidate that we place within a business, we will donate 1% of that person's salary back into the society.
Brilliant.
And I think
so that's not just based on your fee then, Rich, that's based on the person's salary.
Well, it doesn't come out of their salary, mate. I think they won't be too happy about that. But
but that's a percentage of their salary. So yeah, that's just saying. So, that's great.
We toyed with how it. Obviously, ultimately, the thing was all about giving back.
I'm just thinking that's very generous because that's going to be more than just a slice of your profits. That's great. That's because that's up front.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think look. In order to really, really make a difference, there has to be a step change.
Yeah.
And, it has to be something significant for me because, there are, I'm sure there's a lot of businesses that work with charities, of course, but what we wanted to try and do, I don't think it's the amount. I think for me, it's more about every single time you work with us, whether you're a candidate or a client, you have the opportunity to be involved in something giving back.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really important. Alzheimer's is very personal to me. So at the moment, there's two of us in the business. Lucy, who is my business partner, she deals with a lot of the sort of the back end stuff, the social media and the content as the business grows. So it's me as the recruiter. So that is my personal motivation. As the business grows, what we want to try and do is continue that theme. So if another consultant came in, you've grown and people have come in, I think it's about having like-minded people in your business. So if someone came in and it was all about the money for them on a personal level, that probably wouldn't fit with our culture. I mean, that would fit in other people's cultures, and that's absolutely fine, and I acknowledge that. But what we're about, as a business grows, and as a startup, it's really important that you all click. So if someone else came in, they would still have the concept of the 1% of salary, but it could be a charity. It's going to be a charity person to them.
So you've got this expertise in FMCG, recruitment, and then what you're looking to do is kind of apply that to this wider motivation of giving back, and then specifically, you're allying your giving back to the community with your personal cause, but actually you create a platform for other recruiters to kind of come and join you and help give back as well. And there's an option for them to kind of flex that around causes that they support as well. It's great.
Yeah, and I think, for me, you've got to look in our industry. We know how hard it is. There's times where it gets pretty dark, and you're like, "Why do I do this?" and stuff.
Every morning. No, I'm joking.
Well, you might not have. I don't know, but I have, and I think you've got to pull you out of that. There's got to be motivation, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's got to be something that you're really striving to achieve, and I think if something's really, really personal to you, that's going to make you go that extra mile, give another 20, 30%, and I think but we all have different, motivations, don't we? So that's mine, that's where I'm at in my life. And as it's my business and my idea, I think that's something we can do. And I think personally for me, I think that this could, not saying I've, created this idea, because there's lots of people who do it, but there is definitely now a shift towards, this sort of giving back and using your business to be a force of good. You see a lot more B Corp businesses now popping up. You had Grays and Brewdog this week or last week. I think you'll see more of that. I really, really do.
Yeah, my brother works for a B Corp in the FMCG sector. I can't remember the name of it. That's terrible. But they're doing end-to-end supply chain visibility on an app. So the idea is that I'll find out who they are and drop them the links later. But they're a B Corp, and he's absolutely loving it. He's obviously in IT, but he bought me a book at Christmas by Douglas Rushkoff called Throwing Rocks at the Google Bus, and it was basically sort of talking about I think the term is like third wave capitalism. So basically saying if we're going to solve some of the key challenges of our times, climate change and poverty and all the rest, then really businesses need to step up and see themselves as not just a vehicle for profit. Obviously that's what they have to be, otherwise they don't exist, but they need to see their mission as more than profit. Because at the end of the day, what is profit? Profit is value that you've taken out of the system, but actually if that value's money, well, money is not an end in itself. What's the money doing? What's the underlying value behind that? And what you're saying there kind of taps into that. I really like it.
Yeah, and I think as well, I mean, I've certainly noticed over the last couple of years, when you're talking to a candidate about a role, it used to be, what the first thing that they used to talk about was what's the salary, what's the package, how can I move forward? Now, you get a lot of people like, what's the culture, what's the vision of the business, what are they about? And, I think there definitely has been a complete shift in what's important to people.
I've just looked him up here, Provenance. If you guys are watching, go and check out the Provenance app on LinkedIn. So it's an FMCG app, and it's all about, pretty much what Rich has been saying, which is giving back by making supply chains more visible and more accountable. But one of the things that was really interesting when we picked up a conversation a while back, Rich, is you've got a really good rep, and I know you've got a great network, because I know we know some of the same people in FM, in the sort of branded part of FMCG. Like, what's one of your favourite brands, just so people can get a bit of an insight into what products you love? I've got some of mine knocked around here. I love all the startups. Dr. Will's is probably a bit of a fave for me, but
one of my, I suppose, Brewdog, I think. Yeah, I'm a big consumer, and I've recruited for them, and
you are a punk.
I think that when I recruited, when I did, it made me love them even more because they were so. Mark Galgano is the guy that I was my contact in there, and his approach to recruitment was just so refreshing. If you go and get in a process with him, it's an opportunity to find out more about that business, and they want people to come away and still love that business.
Yeah.
I love the way they describe their culture as well. So, I like the liquid. The company is great as well. But I'd probably say them. Mate.
That's really interesting that the whole experience of the company has affirmed your view of the brand. I think that's something I find is that good brands in FMCG, that the culture's consistent. I always say to people, actually, if you've got a really good rapport with a client and they have a very high regard for you as a recruiter and the relationship and the value there, then you tend to find they treat the candidates in a process really, really well as well, because that's just about how you treat people. If you treat people consistently across the board, wherever they are in your supply chain or kind of service level agreements, then it bodes really well for what they're going to be like as an employer. That's quite... Oh, sorry.
I think as well, for me, I did a post about it where it's about a process being an opportunity for you to elevate your brand. Because you go into a process with a company and you come away and you're not that enamored by it and your experience is really, really bad. I guarantee it will have a psychological effect on you buying that brand. Yeah. If you come out of it and you go, oh, do you know what? They were absolutely amazing people. I didn't get the job, but I've walked away and I still had an amazing, really refreshing experience. I guarantee people engage in that brand a lot more.
Yes, it's true. It's true. One of our clients up in Leeds, Symington's, I already love their products, but I love them as a business. I love working with them, and I've just always got some mug shots or naked noodles knocking around, and I just have a personal affinity for the products because I recruit for them. I know the guys, I know the story, and it's very true. There's an opportunity in every process to build your brand, and you've actually got, if you think about how many people a business might meet in a year. Actually, if every one of them, whether they get the role or not, like you were saying with Brewdog, they come out and they buy into the story, they buy into the brand. Well, that's like you create a whole load of brand ambassadors just through your recruitment process. So why would you not want to leverage that network, which is organic, isn't it? Because if people go and share that with their friends, well, especially for big PLCs or really big chunky SMEs. I mean, that's a whole army of ambassadors you can create in a year just by running a good process.
Yeah, 100%.
That leads really nicely onto the next kind of sort of discussion point that we had chalked up, which is basically when we're thinking about recruitment, why do recruiters exist? Because just get the elephant out in the room. We all know there is a rep. There's sometimes some stuff that hacks people off, and on a bad day, there is a stereotype that exists that recruiters are parasites that just skim off the industry. So, we've acknowledged that. Why do recruiters exist, and what is the value that we can offer to the industry?
I think, why do we exist? Obviously, companies do struggle to recruit directly. Some don't. I think if you've got an amazing brand out in the market and everyone knows you, I think sometimes it's a little bit more straightforward. But the way I look at it is, I think if you have a good understanding with the client, where you're here if you need us. The amount of times I said that. I'm not here if you post a job on LinkedIn or whatever, and I'm straight on that. What's the need of that? I think, and for me, you are there as the sort of the backup. Yeah. For me, there will be companies obviously straight away where ordinarily you will get the job straight away, but more often than not, I don't blame people for wanting to recruit themselves first. It's not,
it's common sense, isn't it? You do it yourself, wouldn't you, for your own business?
Yeah, exactly. It saves you money, but sometimes it is difficult. It is really hard, and you have some companies who have 50 jobs on at one time. You're not going to be able to fill all those by what someone might do, but be very impressed if they did. And that's what you're there for, I think. And how I try to work as well is try and be an extension of that brand. It's not just about recruiting. It's when you're partnered with another company, I think it's really important that you are like an ambassador. So at Marvel FMCG, the big thing about it yesterday, we did a post about we're an ambassador for your brand. So it's not just when you're recruiting on a role, it's when you meet people. Oh yeah, we work with these guys. Let me tell you about them. And again, that's getting them out into the market. So I think a recruiter's job is quite straightforward, isn't it? But it can be made very, very difficult. And I think it all boils down to that partnership. But yeah, I mean, I go with the sort of ethos: we're here if you need us.
Yeah.
You just need to have lots of those, that need you, really, I think.
Yeah. I think that's a really nice way to look at it, because we're the same in that we like to keep in touch with our clients every quarter, more than anything else, to get a view on where they're tracking with plans, and also how they're communicating any new sort of lines launched, interesting parts about their story. And the way we always talk about it is, look, we're here to help you tell your story right. We used to have this line that we stopped using, actually, I'll tell you why in a minute, but we used to say, we tell your story right to the best people in marketing, innovation, sales. Now we stopped using that because we had people approaching us saying, are you a marketing agency? I don't know what you do. Yeah. So then we changed it to we recruit, because we just need to be more, but we still like to see ourselves really as like an extension of their employer comms, their employer branding, because really recruitment, I think on a good day, is an interesting mix of sort of HR skills and marketing. I know a lot of people in the past have sort of said to me that recruitment is pure sales. Well, I don't really see it as a sale, because 9 times out of 10, for me, it's about marketing what is already there as an opportunity. It's about making sure you lead on the front foot, really unpack the story. If you unpack the story right, like any good marketing, you'll draw those people in who are looking for that particular story. You don't need to overly sell. And actually, the worst thing for me in a process is if I get to the end of it and the candidate isn't sold themselves on the company and the process, because it makes my job really hard, because then I think, I need to sell this to them, potentially. I don't really want to. I'm not really a salesman. For me, it's about telling the story. And if the story doesn't connect with them, well, it's probably not the right opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, that whole tag of a salesman just makes you think, Del Boy, doesn't it? I mean, yeah. it does. And I think you're 100% right. Since I've started in recruitment to where we are now, it has evolved significantly. And I think there are so many areas where you can do to build your brand as a recruiter. And I don't see myself as a salesperson either. But marketing is hugely important. That's something we're going to, I don't know, you massively buy into it, and it's something we're really going to buy into. It's all about building a brand.
Yeah.
Before, it's probably a bit of a personal brand, because people use you for you. And then there's the element of, your content, your marketing, your social media, all the candidates you represent, it all wraps into one. Look, there are elements of sales, of course there are. Good people. If you deal with good people, the ones who are really happy in their job but want an exciting opportunity, they're going to need to be sold to. And I think that's something that you can't just go on to someone and start talking about a job before they know what's important. And the thing that I really focus on, and it's 2 simple things, is what's important to you, and what makes you happy. Because we all want to go to work and be happy, right? We want to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy your job, the chances are you're going to become really unhappy and start looking. But then also, what is important to you? So, if I go and speak to someone, try and speak to someone about a job, I always find out what's important to them. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that, I think, for me, I'm a big believer in. If you get those 2 things right, that then creates longevity for them. And that's what you want when you're recruiting someone. You want people to go in, do well, and stay, not leave in 3 months.
Yeah. But kind of like you're saying, that the selling really starts when you ask the right questions, doesn't it? Because if you understand the person you're working with, then the sell is really about, well, look, I've understood you. Here's something I think might be interesting, and then you see where it goes. You're not trying to close people on a car they don't need. To use another analogy.
Yeah, and I think you have a good network of people. So if a role comes in that there is instant progression to, say, from a senior NAM to a controller, and that you've got someone that really is itching to do that, that's the right opportunity. If there's a role where they've got a really good work-life balance, they can do the school runs and things like that, and that fits with them, because that has evolved as well. Speak to them about it. I think that there's not a person you could speak to and just put a job on them and they go, yeah, sign me up. Because I'd be concerned if that was the case. I really would. I think you've got to find out, and that's the consultative piece,
isn't it? Yeah.
There's so much that surrounds a recruiter, and so many things that you have to do that makes you a good recruiter. that comes to it. It's not just a case of I've got a job, I'm going to speak to someone and fill it. There's loads that comes to it.
Well, I think the point that's really stood out to me there and what you were just saying is that piece around network. Like if you know what area you specialise in and you really do spend lots of time networking in it, then if somebody gives you a brief, you're not starting from cold. You're not just trying to suddenly build a whole house from a standing start. You've actually, it's a bit like when I speak, because I'm doing a house renovation at the moment, so I'm thinking about houses, but speak to good tradespeople. They already have other people they work with. I spoke to this guy that's going to put me in a new system. He's like, right, well, we're going to get these guys involved. They'll do it like this. This is our process. And, we've got access to this and we can turn it around in 3 days for you. Great. That's what I want to hear. He's done it before. He knows it. He's got the network. He's got that track record and he slots in. So what I'm paying for there, it's not just him doing the job, but it's all that kind of back work that he's done to build himself to the point where he can deliver quickly for me. Because per your point earlier, if you're a busy TA and you're juggling 30 roles and you've got the one gnarly snam on Asda that you just can't fill for love nor money, and it's such a time drain to network with those people, well, I mean, that's why we exist, isn't it? Because hopefully they can tap into our networks and we might just have those one or two people that are tucked away happy in their jobs that aren't checking the job boards or adverts or messages, but they'll take a call and say, oh, actually, that would fit with my family.
Yeah. There was a guy that, in my old business that I recruited for, and he said to me, I've got 58 roles on at the moment. And I was like, bloody hell, I don't know how you'd be able to cope with that. Yeah. And that's across all disciplines.
I can't do more than 3 at any time.
Factory,
just can't do it.
Yeah, supply chain. And I look at that and I go, that's bonkers and a headache. And the job of, in that situation, we're here to try and help remove that headache a little bit. But it's also being a bit grown up about it and being a bit adult, going, I know that you're going to, a TA is there for the existence. They are there to do the majority of that, but you're there when needed.
Yeah.
You're almost there as that backup to come in and help out, like you say, for those difficult roles. But I think, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And what? So, I'm just moving on to the next point. Then, and we touched on those of it already. But we were talking the other day when we were catching up, hearing about your new gig, about best practice and how we build businesses. I mean, there were the kind of 3 things that I thought about when I was planning the podcast. One was comms, one was process, one was expectations. Like for candidates out there that are working with recruiters, what do you think best practice looks like in those areas so that we can give them the best experience possible? Because I know from feedback I had when I was a younger recruiter that if you cock one of those things up, you give people a really bad taste in their mouth. And, having made a few mistakes at the beginning of my career, I just want to make sure people leave. Whether they get a job or not for me, I want them to have a great experience. So on those 3 areas, what do you think gives candidates a great experience, Rich?
I think I meet every single person I represent.
Yeah.
That. Yeah. So I mean, I've been taught that from day one when I came into recruitment, because when we go back to like what's important, what makes you happy, you get that. So I think there's when you do, I spend probably about an hour with people, and that's going through the admin side of it. So what's your package at the moment? What does it need to be in order to secure you? Because you've got to front load that as a recruiter. You have to, because I heard a story the other day where someone I know was in a process with another recruiter. I know we're not here to do the recruitment bashing. I know we said that, but that recruiter didn't ask those questions at the start. That person absolutely loved the job, loved the business, and they lowballed her because they didn't know what she was on. And then she's walked away, and it's like, oh, okay. So go through the admin piece, and then literally, it's almost like, I mean, I'm not there to grill them like a hiring manager from FMCG. I don't have that credibility. I don't have that sort of knowledge. I mean, my knowledge is okay, but it's not to the point of a hiring manager in a business. But the purpose of me doing it is to get to know them, understand them to understand me, and also trust me. I think that's a massive thing when it comes to it is trust in a process, because let's face it, if you think of it, the grand scheme of things, changing career is a massively important thing. It really is. You've got so many considerations to take into account. And if you are one of those people who is happy in their job, but they want that exciting next step, it's a big move for someone. And the way I try to recruit is try to be, work in tandem with them, work in partnership. But in order to do that, they've got to trust me. Now, if you've never met anyone in your life, would you trust them? You know,
Yeah,
you probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think, you know, meeting someone, the amount of times I've had a process where it has got a bit like, oof, you know, we're not sure, but having that conversation with someone you trust is massive, you know. So there's a number of reasons why I do it, but then finding out, you know, let's get underneath this, let's get under your skin a little bit, and let's find out what is the drive for you. Why are you looking? You know, what's your purpose of looking? What do you want out of your next opportunity? So then I'm fully briefed, and also I feel like they've been given a good service as well. You know, it takes more of my time. You know, it's not a case of I'm going to get 10 CVs, chuck one on the wall, and hope one sticks. It's, you know, tailored. It's getting an understanding of them in order to know that when I do have a role, that they're right, and it's right for them. You know, I think so meeting people and the comms thing, yeah, absolutely. You know, that's probably the biggest downfall in recruitment is communication. I mean, the amount of times you hear, isn't it? Oh, I've never heard back from that.
Yeah.
You know,
It's the easy one as well. I always find what we do every Friday is we just give everybody in the process a catch up by text, because people, they don't need War and Peace. They don't need a half an hour catch call. They just want to know, just a text saying, I'm chasing them, I'll keep you posted. It's just such a no-brainer, but yeah, unless it's a habit, I think it can fall by the wayside, can't it? Because we're busy people.
Yeah, and you're right, you've hit the nail on the head there. We are very busy. I mean, sometimes you don't realise the amount of emails, messages as a recruiter you do get. And I've forgotten to go back to people. I'm not going to sit here and say,
I have.
I mean, I've forgotten to go back to people, and, you know, whoever else might be watching this, sorry, but, you know, ordinarily, if you do get back to someone, then that's the main thing. You know, as long as they're kept updated and kept in the loop, I think that's really, really important.
And per your point there as well, like humility. If somebody drops you a call Monday and say, you didn't give me an update Friday, Rich, I'm really sorry, I should have done that. There's no excuse. Here's the update. Don't give them a load of BS about, I was busy. They don't care, they're busy as well. Just apologise. We all make mistakes, we're human. The worst advice I ever got given in one of my early jobs, really early in my career, is never apologise. I don't agree with that. If you mess up, apologise.
I've heard
take it on the chin and own it, because the worst thing you can do is try and front it. It's terrible.
Yeah, and I think sometimes because you're a recruiter, your reputation supersedes you, doesn't it? I mean, they think, well, he's just giving me a load of BS here. Yeah. But you're right. I think honesty, you know, it almost comes in line with the trust, isn't it? So if I say, look, you know, if they trust me and I go, look, I've not heard back from them yet, I'm still waiting for feedback. If they trust you, they should believe you. You know, that should happen. And I think for me, it all boils down to that first engagement with someone.
Yeah.
With that first call. So I will always speak to people about a role, and then I'll book some time in with them, you know, the next few days, depending on their diary.
Great
and then
show.
get some time in with them. And then it starts from there, isn't it? You know, it starts. That's the process. That's where your engagement, your partnership starts.
Yeah, I really like that. That's a very good system, actually. And expectations. I mean, to be honest, this is probably more one for clients. Just taking it one step further, client experience. There's a balancing act, isn't there, in any client relationship, where at the end of the day, the client's always right in that, you know, you need to deliver on what they ask for. It's not my job to create the brief on what they need, but you speak to guys every day in that niche, and we have a view on what's realistic in terms of expectations from a company when it comes to a brief. And sometimes you get given a brief and you think, I'm just not quite sure that's going to land right with the candidate pool. Like how do you balance client expectations with that kind of what I've heard described before as a master and servant relationship, which kind of sums it up to a point. Like, yes, you need to be an equal, but fundamentally you're there to serve a need, aren't you? You know, they're not using you because they're your mate. You might be friends as well, but fundamentally they need a service from you. So how do you juggle that with also giving them some genuine advice if they're maybe off the mark slightly?
Yeah, I think sometimes what I've found is that if you do come back and you do push back, you know. I remember once one guy, I first started recruiting for someone, and said, I want 10 CVs in 3 days. I was like, no chance.
Yeah.
And he said, you what? And I said, absolutely no chance.
Yeah.
Said, firstly, that's not how I work.
I can find you a unicorn, but that's too hard, mate.
Yeah. I mean, in this case, and again there, and if someone went, yeah, okay, you're over-promising and then potentially under-delivering, and then you'll find yourself going, shit, I've got to get like 4 more CVs, so I'll just get people who are not right.
Yeah.
Well, what I try to do is say, look, I appreciate that's probably what you want, but I would rather give you 2 or 3 that in my opinion are spot on compared to 10 that one might be right. So I think sometimes it's a confidence thing, isn't it, as a recruiter, and as you get more experience, I imagine I've done it earlier on in my career. I've gone, yeah, okay, and gone and try and done that and quickly learn, well, that's not right. And then you have to go back and you say, sorry, I've not delivered. And then you're already on the back foot. So I think being upfront with someone and being honest, if someone says, I want a national account manager and I'm only going to be prepared to pay this, you've got to go back and say, look, being honest, I'll always try and work to the brief, but you need just to manage expectations. You need to be prepared that you're not going to get what you want for that. Yeah. And I think what you'll find is from a client perspective, they might respect you more for doing that rather than, not, so to speak.
Yeah, there was, I think it was Simon Sinek TED Talk once. He talks about the power of if, and I listened to that about the time we set this up, and I remember thinking, I could really use that and it would elevate my conversations. And I often say now, look, I will try and deliver that. However, if it's not received well by the candidate population, by the people you're targeting, how would you feel if I put forward this person? Or, okay, well, I'll try and do that, but if I find somebody with this experience and they're X amount above the brief, what would your thoughts be? And then you're not telling them what to do then, are you? You're just trying to open them up slightly, and it's just a more gentler way of approaching it. But I'd always struggled to push back on clients until I'd listened to that TED Talk, and I thought, yeah, that's great, because I'm not inverting the relationship. I'm not telling them how to do their day job. I'm just saying, look, what do you think? And it's easier.
I think as well, there's an element as well of you're in this together with them.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm here to try and make your life easier. I'm here to get you someone, whether it's in marketing, someone to come in and build your brand from the ground up, or whether it's in sales to come in and turn around, poor performance and deliver growth. I'm here to try and get you that person. And I think as well, sometimes it takes, time is another thing you have to manage their expectations on. I think in our industry, where it's become apparent is that it's who's the quickest to the mark, I think. And that's a little bit where, if you've got, it's a bit of a bum fight and you've got 2 or 3 recruiters working on it, everyone tries to get as many people in as quickly as they can. Whereas, I personally think, a hiring manager, if you manage them right, will wait for the right person.
Yeah.
So if you are in that bum fight, look, I appreciate you've got 10 CVs, but I've got 2 here that I think will hit the mark. So you have to manage people on time as well, which isn't easy. It isn't easy, but it can be done.
And just thinking about getting the best experience for candidates and clients, I guess kind of same question but from 2 different angles. I mean, we're people at the end of the day, we've got our own motivations, we've touched on them, we get out of bed because we want to enjoy our work. Like, what can candidates do to get the most out of us? Because, I don't know about you, Rich, but the guys that I work closest with, I work so much harder for them. I'll put in the evenings, I'll give up a bit of my weekend, I will just go the extra mile. But often I find the best clients, they're pitching to me. They're trying to get an angle on my mind and what's going on there so that I'm more motivated for them. And I love it when they do that, because I think, these guys are switched on. But for you, like, what can candidates do, what can clients do to get the most out of you and Marvel?
Yeah, I think from a candidate, what I would say to people is push your recruiter.
Yeah.
So the amount of times, certainly for me at the moment, I'm pretty much the cupboard's almost bare at the moment with a few things bubbling away. So, people approaching me, I'll give him my time, I will. And the kind of things that you need to look at is push your recruiter to say, all right, you don't have this job for me, but what else can you do for me? Mm-hmm. And that for me will be a really interesting question to ask, because then you'll know whether that person is invested in you or not. If it's the case, of, well, I don't have anything on at the minute, and then you'll never hear from them again. That's probably I'm not saying an industry standard, but that does happen quite a lot. Whereas you could say, okay, well, what other advice can I give you? Can I give you advice on your CV? Can I make that more punchy? Can I give you advice on how to raise your profile? I've talked to people about influencers within recruitment, not the ones that are on, a reality TV show, but, going and speaking to people that can influence other people for you.
Here's James Caan's number.
So it's not, and I think it's short-sighted to say helping a candidate is just about filling the job. Ultimately, that is your goal.
Yeah.
I always say that to people. I always try my utmost to get you a job because that is what I'm here for, and that's what you want from me. That's the end goal. But there's so much more stuff that you can do. I get people ringing me who are in another process with other people and another recruiter asking for advice.
Yeah.
That's cool. You know, that's cool because for me, in the long term, who are they going to remember? You know, I think that the person who helped them more, I think. So from that perspective, I think from a candidate is I would always push your, you know, if a recruiter you're speaking to, the job's not right, it's not a case of what else have you got, but what else can you do to help me?
Love that. Yeah.
And then I think, you know, from a client perspective, I think, again, fairly similar sort of analogy about the job scenario. You know, they just see you there to fill a job, but actually, you know, one of the things that we're looking to get off the ground with Marvel is it's called the Kickstart program. I did have it before the government raised that, built that in, just FYI. But
Boris nicking your ideas, Rich.
Boris nicking my ideas. So yeah,
poor show.
But one of the things there is you know, we want to get in, you know, and it's based around SMEs and getting them off the ground and stuff. And one of the biggest things is you know, talent pooling, raising the awareness, training. You know, my business partner is an executive coach, but I'm also in conversations with a training company specifically from FMCG. So if we came in and, you know, place someone in your business, it's not just about that. We can offer a training program for you, bespoke to you, you know, and really trying to help you. And I think from a client perspective, it's all about the recruiters who stand out for me. It's all the ones who add value. You know, so whether you're adding value to a candidate or whether you're adding value to a company, that's what you need to be doing as a recruiter. Yes, you're there to fill a job, but there's just so much more that you can do for a business. You know, talking about what's your reputation in the market. Oh, I've heard there's a couple of things people say. They need to know that. You know, it's all those types of things, mate, that I think can combine to make a good recruiter or a good recruitment company.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the kind of soft side of comms, isn't it? It's the kind of the echoes of the market, and you're in a position as a recruiter, because you have conversations, to say, look, my impression from people's conversations is that you're perceived in this way. And you don't have to break any confidences. At the end of the day, it's your impression as a recruiter, as an agent in the field. But actually, if like you said, if the trust is there and they buy into you, then those insights, those intangible insights, can be really useful. Yeah. I always find with them, you know, clients, they do really want different things out of us, and we can deliver a variety of fee levels and services. Like we do something called an attraction marketing campaign, which is basically like a PPC kind of retainer, and a mini comms campaign. We do some like video assets for them, which we tag onto a retainer, and it just kind of land on hard to fill roles where it's all passive candidates and nobody's really looking. It just lands with more impact. And that obviously is a lot more time intensive and costs a lot more than, say, like an exclusive contingent role at a lower level. And so the fees vary, but if we know what the parameters are and there's a very clear brief on what the client wants delivered, well, actually we can nearly always meet it. And I always think that the thing clients can do best for me as a recruiter is just give me clarity. If you're very clear on what you want, I can normally help you. But if the goalposts shift, if the sands are kind of, you know, bubbling away, it becomes very difficult to kind of, you know, justify your time. And I can feel in the back of my head, I'm thinking, all right, there's probably some stuff out there that's easier to land. And it's not necessarily about the difficulty of the brief. It's more about if you know what good looks like and where the ball needs to go, then you can aim, can't you?
Yeah, but you know, ultimately, successful businesses are based on their people, right? So going back to like, why do we exist? An element is we're here to help that. You know, you could have the most amazing brand, but if you haven't got the people to execute that, then it's not going to happen. You know, so I think what is you know, sort of a good partner as such is, you know, is building that pipeline for people and saying, you know, even to the fact of, look, I met someone, because when you talk about, you know, what good looks like, what good looks like to one business might be completely different to another. But if you've got a really good relationship with someone, and, you know, someone comes to you and you start working with them, having that ability to pick up the phone and say, look, I've got this person, this individual, they are your company to a T. doesn't matter like now, but just keep that in mind. You know,
True.
so somebody who really loves your business, wants to be part of it. When that role does come around, let's have that discussion.
Yeah,
you know, so it's things like that as well, mate.
Well, we've pretty much taken up the time, Rich, but I wanted to just like land one last question on you, see what your thoughts are. But if there was one thing that the agency industry in FMCG could do to improve the experience for everyone, what do you think it would be?
Service. 100%. Yeah, for me, you know, we talked about earlier, it's a sales role. I suppose, yes, it is. Of course it is. You know, we're in a results-driven industry. But I'm a big believer that service can help you generate results. You know, where I've built a network and built sort of a good or bad reputation, I'm not sure, you know, is through service. And I think a good sign of that is always ask the person, you know, who didn't get the job of what the service was like of their recruiter. You're always going to get the person who got the job will absolutely wax lyrical about that recruiter, but ask number 2 and number 3 what that service was like. But then also, you know, I think for me, I would hate it if someone said that they've had a bad service in my business, you know, and I would try and turn that around as much as I can. And I think if you give a good service, whether you've delivered or not, the chances are they'll use you again. So I think it's quite, for me, it's simply down to that.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Do you know, I never thought of it like that, but I'm gonna nick that one, Rich. I'm gonna start asking people that they don't get the job through us. Actually, how's the service? That's great. And you know, you're gonna get real time feedback, aren't you? Then you'll know whether it's good service or not, because they'll tell you.
I try and get as many recommendations as I can on my profile. Probably about 50% of those I didn't even place. You know. But it's still good to have that, I think. So yeah.
Cool. Rich, thanks. It's been an absolute blast in this podcast with you. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me. It's been enjoyable, actually.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good to swap ideas. And yes, those things you said really made me think I'm going to nick quite a few of your ideas. Hope that's okay. If you see me doing this stuff, it was Rich's idea first. I'm just putting that out there.
Just give me a couple of jobs in return, mate, and that'd be fine.
Be good, be square. Well, actually, on that point, so people that are listening and watching, where can they find Marvel FMCG and how can they follow you?
So, you know, follow through our homepage, our website, through my page. You know, we're going to try and get our name out there as much as we can, because I think that's really, really important.
Yeah.
But look, you know, obviously, if you want to have a chat, whether you're a client or a candidate, you know, we welcome that conversation. We want to talk to people about our business, and we want to, you know, celebrate that and really try and create that community. That's the most important thing for us, and giving back, obviously. Yeah.
And guys, if you're listening, as someone that competes against Rich and knows he's good competition because he's good at what he does, go and pick up a phone call with him, have a bit of a chat with him. He'll definitely help you out, and certainly recommend him as a really good industry operator. So guys, thanks for listening. Thanks also to FMCG Jobs for sponsoring the podcast, and thanks for joining us again. You can find us in all the usual places, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, LinkedIn, and we will see you next time. Take care. Thanks to FMCGjobs.com for supporting this video. FMCGjobs.com is a global job advertising solution for the fast-moving consumer goods industry. Register for free as a candidate and create your specific job target to get live updates and alerts. Head over now to FMCGjobs.com for your next opportunity. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Check out the playlist here for more content like this. Click the donuts to subscribe so you never miss an update, and give us a like and a comment so we know what content you'd like to see from us. See you next time.